Welcome to the SIWIKE podcast, the only podcast that shares the stuff you didn't know you needed to know about jobs, careers, and life. The SIWIKE podcast, the stuff I wish I knew earlier.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the SIWIKE Stuff I Wish I Knew Earlier podcast. I'm Luki, your host, and today I thought we'd go into the topic of how to get into project management. So there's a lot of folks out there who reach out, and because of my consulting background, and because I had a PMP, professional management, project management professional designation, they'll reach out and say, well, how did you get into project management? How do you actually make your way into that industry, into that domain actually? So project management is one of those things where it's kind of everywhere. It's pervasive, but the title of project manager can actually be a little bit more challenging to get into, right? Because if you think about large scale projects, $1 million, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, it's unlikely that they'll get any grad, someone who just came out of school, to say, oh, here's $1 million and do your best, right? You're probably going to go kind of the junior route where you'll start off as maybe a junior project manager and then move up, trying to help out on a smaller project, maybe a tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands dollar project, or being part of a stream for a $1 million project, and then grow from there, right? And those companies that have these kind of junior project management folks are going to be the larger ones, right? And in Canada, there really aren't that many super large companies. And I'm speaking from the Canadian context, but you can extrapolate that from other parts of the world. So if you think about it, and I'm specifically talking to the folks in Toronto, the big banks, the big telecoms are the ones that are probably going to need these project management folks for these large-scale transformations that happen. And maybe you might have some of the bigger retailers that are out here as well. But that otherwise, if you're looking for a mid-tier company, a mid-sized company, then they're going to want more established, more experienced project managers to get through. So it's unlikely that you'll have that many opportunities unless you kind of are able to convince some people to do that. So first path would be to try to find kind of the junior versions of the position, right? So junior project managers, even project controllers, that sort of thing. For those who kind of manage kind of the finances and the more administrative parts of the project, those are roles that you want to be looking for. And another way to be involved is to be part of a project, right? So if you're going into the business analysis side, right, and business analysts usually help with kind of requirements, sometimes doing things like testing, that can be a good way to get into project management because you get to see it on the back end. So if you think about the different cycles of a project, you usually have some sort of requirements, some sort of build, and then some sort of like validation, and then the actual deployment. And I'm using that in kind of the software context, but it's generally applicable to most other types of projects as well, right? So if you're in any part of the project and you can kind of keep going and be part of the project, because let's say you're a business analyst, you'll get requirements, and often you'll be asked to test the software, the tool, the process before it gets out, and then you can be involved in the process. And when you do that, hopefully you're putting up your hand and saying, well, how can I help manage more? How can I help with statuses, with risks and issues, with decisions, with managing other stakeholders, with vendors and suppliers that might be providing you some services or products or software or whatever it is. And the more that you can get experience, the more likely that someone's going to allow you to continue on and say, you know what, you did well on this as a business analyst on this $1 million project. Well, maybe we'll give you a smaller $100,000 project to manage on your own, right? And then that's another way to go, kind of the junior route up. And if you've done enough of these projects at these various levels, then they'll have confidence that you can manage a larger project. And if you're a new grad or a recent grad, then some things that you can do to kind of prepare yourself for these roles are extracurriculars. So student clubs, they have a lot of kind of projects, right? You can call a conference a project, right? So you have to secure a venue, you have to get attendees to come, you have to manage all the marketing, guest speakers, food or technology or whatever it is in order to make sure that it works, and you have to execute it all the way up to like kind of the requirements, what are you trying to do, all the way to the build, which is the actual execution of the day itself, and then hopefully there's some retrospective afterwards to learn, well, what did you do well, what could you have done better, and then hopefully transition off to other folks. So anything like that could be some sort of project, right? And any sort of training or workshops can be considered a project as well, and you might do some consulting work for another club or not-for-profit or whatever. So a lot of things that you can take from an extracurricular or even from a class and assignment perspective, you can turn into a project and put it through the rigor. Now, most of that stuff won't necessarily need something as sophisticated as like a project plan and a risk and issues log. But if you're there and doing it anyway, why not? And just put that in and put a little bit of that rigor, put a little bit of that structure, weekly status updates, a daily stand-up if you really want, that sort of thing, and get yourself to incorporate some of the things that you'd want to do, right? So the old days were kind of that traditional waterfall method. Now it's more kind of agile and scrum, that sort of thing, regardless of whether you're in software or not. But it's that kind of more iterative approach that's often gaining a lot more traction. So thinking about incorporating some of that into your kind of your extracurricular activities, your volunteer work, or any personal projects that you're doing, that can showcase and have some provide some good bullet points on your resume. So basically leveling up, and then obviously you want to get in front of a lot of project managers. The PMI, the Professional Management Institute, will have a lot of programs, will have a lot of events that they're running on their own as well. And you can attend their events and meet a lot of people there. And a good recommendation would be to volunteer for them, because they're always looking for able-bodied people to be able to help with their own events, their own initiatives, their own white papers or whatever they're writing. And if you put up your hand and volunteer, well, guess who are the other volunteers that you're working with? Well, some of them might be students as well, but oftentimes a lot of them are working professionals, they are project managers, and if they see kind of the quality of your work, you can let them know that you're looking for an opportunity, and they'll say, yeah, you know what, we'll keep you in mind because we're looking for someone to start on our new project, someone's on some sort of leave, and we're looking for some backfill support. Then you have that opportunity there. And that's kind of the general networking process where you get out there, you demonstrate your value, and then you kind of put up your hand and make sure that people know that you're looking for these opportunities. And when you're curious and interested with people and definitely adding a lot of value, then opportunities tend to come your way as well. So those are some of the tips that I would have in order for you to get into project management. So if you're a recent grad and a fresh grad, use your extracurriculars to really cultivate some of that project management experience, and so that you have a lot of good bullet points that you can put in your resume. Take a look at a typical job posting and see how you can incorporate that into your general extracurriculars. And then what you want to do is, if you are looking for roles and as you're cultivating your experience, go find kind of those junior project management roles if you can, and if not, then go in the different segments of a project. So either business analyst, even testing, right? That can be something that a lot of people don't shy away from, but it's something that can be very helpful because you get to see how it works in one aspect of the project. And that can be invaluable experience for someone getting into project management. And of course, networking, so a place like the PMI would be great, or different project management organizations, meetups, and different areas on Eventbrite. Or if there's a particular industry that you have a little bit more experience in. So let's say you've worked as a financial service representative, as a teller at a bank. Well, connecting at the bank and letting them know that you're looking for project management work, or if you have experience in like retail or quick serve even, right? Oftentimes the parent companies are big enough where they would need project managers to help out, right? And looking a little bit more broadly than just a typical project manager, because again, a lot of companies will need people to kind of orchestrate and organize things to happen, and they might be kind of like one-time initiatives, strategic projects, that sort of thing, or they could be more like operational projects where on a day-to-day basis, week-by-week basis, month-by-month basis, they execute kind of these projects that have to be done and executed. And oftentimes you can almost turn any kind of day job into some sort of project and learn some outcomes, because you'll start it, you'll finish it, and then you'll hopefully grow and get better. And hopefully those are some useful tips to get into project management. And we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for joining us on the SIWIKE Stuff I Wish I Knew Earlier, the podcast. If you like the podcast, please subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you found this podcast. And if you can give us a review, that would be very appreciated. Feel free to contact me on LinkedIn at Luki Danu, LUKIDANU, and the same on most social media platforms. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks. Bye.